Hello everyone! Today we're going to be going over some home hazards and identifying them throughout this PowerPoint. We are going to be going through each room of the house, including the bathroom, living room, kitchen, bedroom, then the laundry room, and office. The first room we will be going over is the bathroom, and this is where a lot of falls can occur. So the first fall hazard that we can identify in a bathroom is the rug, especially when it's a non-slip rug. When there is especially water on the floor when you're getting in and out of the shower, or just rugs in general if they don't have any tread on the bottom or that non-slip coating where they're not going to move and slide around, it's going to be a very big fall risk. And then also in the bathroom is going to be, in this bathroom anyway, is going to be the tub, because it's a tub shower combination. And whether the lip of the tub is high or low, you always want to make sure that you're clearing your foot when you're going over it into the shower. And if you're having difficulty getting in, one of the ways to do that is by installing grab bars. You can put one on this side in this bathroom. It would make it a little bit easier getting in and out. But if not, then you can also use something called a tub transfer bench, which would make it a little bit easier getting in and over and having something to sit on while you're in the shower as well. But one of the main slipping hazards in a shower is going to be the water, because it can get out on the floor or while you're in the shower. It's going to be very slippery, and you want to make sure that you're being careful getting all the water off of you before you get out of the shower, and making sure you're using that shower curtain, having that one stay inside so it tries to keep all of that water contained, and then rinsing off and getting all of that water off with your towel while you're still in the tub. And before you actually get into the shower, when you think about where are my clothes going to go, if they go on the floor, that is something else that I could trip over. So we could also have like a little bin right here, that way there is a place for your clothes to go and it's not just going to be thrown on the floor. When thinking about the bathroom, one of the other main reasons that we use it other than the shower is to use the restroom. So if you're having difficulty getting off of the toilet, one of the ways to help with that is installing grab bars. And this is just an example of one way to have grab bars installed. But if you're not able to install grab bars, another option is going to be a raised toilet seat, and that's just an attachment that goes onto the toilet right here and locks there, and it just makes it so there's a few inches above where your toilet height stops, so it's a little bit easier to get off of. And the other fall risk hazard when we're over near the toilet is going to be this rug. We just want to make sure that it is a non-slip rug while we're in the bathroom. So instead of having a tub shower combination, another version is just having a step-in shower like this photo. And we want to make sure, like with the tub, that we're able to get over this small step to get into the shower safely. And also with like the tub picture, we want to make sure that we have a non-slip rug so it's not slipping anywhere. And when you're in the shower, you're using some shampoo, conditioner, body wash, and soap is going to be very, very slippery, especially this little bar of soap that's right there. I know it can easily slip out of your hands and onto the ground, so you just want to make sure that you're aware of how soap makes the floor very, very, very slippery, and you want to make sure that you're being extra cautious, especially with this bar of soap. And then also you want to make sure that you're using the shower curtain again, making sure that the water is not getting onto the floor and it's kind of staying contained within the shower area. So here is an example of a grab bar. So a grab bar is going to make it a little bit easier for something to hold on to while you're in the shower. And it's an example of where they could normally be placed. This one is horizontal, but they also can be placed vertical as well. And they're usually more metallic in color. They do come in other colors as well, like black, but this one is white. And if it was a little bit difficult to see the off-white on off-white background, you could get a different color as well. So when we're in the shower, we could be using a lot of shampoos, conditioners, and other bathroom items. So it could be very useful to have an organizer kind of like this to have all of your needs and items in one place, because if you do have them along the lip of the tub, kind of like this cup right here, it could be full of water and it could easily be poured onto the ground and make it very slippery. So having something like this to contain all of those can be very helpful, as long as you remember that this is a detachable organizer and it's not something that you're able to just put and hold on to while you're in the shower. And if you don't have one of these organizers, you can also just make sure that you're aware of where your items are so that it's not going to be dumped into the bottom of the shower and it's going to be very slippery if you have soap down there. You could have a anti-slip grip mat. It kind of introduces more texture on the bottom of the floor, so something for your feet to grip onto, and that's just another option to make it less slippery. The next room we're going to go over is the living room. As you can see in this photo, there is a lot going on here, and mostly it is from this little dog right here. He has all of his toys on the ground, spread out everywhere, and he himself is in the way when we're trying to get over to the couch over here. So everything, all of his toys are going to be in the path of our feet when we're trying to get over there, as well as this stack of books over here. Sometimes we have like magazines on the floor or papers, and we don't like to go through them, or we don't like to throw them away, but it's not good for them to just be lying on the floor when they could cause you to trip. Another thing to think about when looking at the living room is going to be cords, and specifically for this one it's going to be the vacuum cord. Someone must have used the vacuum, but they didn't roll up the cord after it was done, and it is very easy to trip over cords. And this is the same living room as before, but now it's been cleaned up a little bit more. All of those dog toys that were on the ground have now been put into this little bin over here. And the vacuum cord has been rolled up and put over to the side out of the way. Those books have been taken up off the floor and onto the coffee table. But if you have more papers or more magazines, it's good to go through them. Even like bills, you want to make sure you go through those papers and you have a place for them. And if you don't have a place, then you can go ahead and throw them away. Now also with this photo, you can see that the furniture has been parted, so now there is a clear pathway. And when you're in your home, you want to make sure you're thinking about, is the way that I go from the living room or the couch to the kitchen, is it open? Am I able to get there without having to knock into anything, move around any furniture, have any objects on the floor? You want to make sure that there is a clear pathway. And you can also ask someone else to help move around your furniture and rearrange it so that there is a clear path. So as in any room of the house, you should always keep any assistive devices that you're using, like a cane, a walker. You always want to make sure that you're keeping them with you and not leaving them behind. You want to make sure that you're using them as you need to be using them. So that's going to be the first hazard. And then everything else is going to be the having a place and this could be like having the remotes in a basket instead of on the couch, where they could be displaced or they can get stuffed in the couch, they can get on the floor, you're not going to know what they are. That could be a big fall risk. This is another example of cords in the way. This light fixture has this cord. In this particular house, there was a dog that kept on getting underneath this cord and kept pulling it out, so it was out in the middle of the room next to this rug, which is also a hazard. But having this cord pulled out and being on the floor over here made it a very big risk for tripping over it. So we want to make sure that all the cords are either going to be taped onto the wall or they're put behind furniture so that they're out of the way. Now in the living room, there are, or can be, pillows on the couch, and sometimes these pillows can get knocked over and put onto the ground over here. Or even with blankets too, they can be coming off of the couch, they can be on the floor over here, next to this pile of books and these magazines too. They can be in the way of trying to get to the couch. So you want to make sure that they are out of the way. And also, if you have a walker or you're using a cane, you want to make sure that there is enough room for you to get onto the couch without leaving it behind. Again, with using your tools, you want to make sure you always keep them with you and you're using them correctly. So make sure that there's going to be enough room between the coffee table and the couch so you can use them to get there. One way to deal with all of those blankets that were coming off of the couch in the last picture is to have them all organized into one bin in the living room. And by having this bin, you can just go over and grab it before you get on the couch, and once you're done on the couch, you can put them back into the bin so that it has its place. It's not leaning off of the couch, it's not in the way, and it's not on the floor. So it's off and it's organized so you know where they are and where you can get them from. The next room is going to be the kitchen. When we're in the kitchen, one of the jobs that you might have to do is washing dishes, and you just need to make sure that you're being aware of when you're washing them to keep them over the sink, because if any of the water or the soap gets out, it can make it very slippery surface on the bottom of the floor. So you want to make sure that you're keeping everything contained within the sink or onto that mat for the plates and the cups. When putting items away, either in your cabinets or in your refrigerator, you always want to make sure you're thinking about how am I going to use this item. And so when you're trying to put those items away, you usually want to keep them at waist level to eye level so that they're easy to reach. And especially when you're in someplace like this refrigerator door and you think, I'm going to use ketchup every day on my eggs. It's not going to be helpful to put them down onto the bottom rack where you always have to be leaning over to reach that ketchup. You want them to be in very easy to reach places because you're using them every day. You want to be able to get them without having to put yourself in a compromised position. Another reason to rearrange items you use more often onto lower shelves or waist level to eye level is that you don't want to be using a stool to get to those items. So if you're going to put all your recipe books up here and you cook every day with those recipes and you have to use a stool like this to get those, that's not going to be safe to do. Especially with this stool, it doesn't have a bar for you to hold on to while you're getting up there, and it's not safe to use every day. It's better to have those items somewhere where you're able to easily reach them. Another problem could be any clutter that's on the countertops. So if you have like a napkin or any sponge or anything and it falls onto the ground, that could be something that you could trip over. So you want to make sure the counters are clean And even with the kitchen appliances, you just want to make sure that they're kind of out of the way, more towards the wall. All the wires are behind them, and there's nothing going to be in the way of you cooking or getting around. When we're in the kitchen, another job that we might have to do is cooking. So like with dishwashing, we want to make sure that there's no water getting on the floor, but when you're cooking, you could be using other liquids as well. Or when you're preparing a meal, you could be getting orange juice out. And also when you're cooking, you could be spraying a pan down, and you want to make sure that you're spraying the pan over a sink so that any of the particles that are not getting onto that pan is going to be in the sink and not on the floor, because that can be very slippery. Then when you're putting away your dishes after having them cleaned in the dishwasher, you want to be able to reach where those cups and those plates are going to go. So having them within your waist to eye level is going to be best, and keeping all the cups and mugs that you use closer to that area is going to be a lot safer. And when you're done with the dishwasher, or when you're going back and forth between it, it could be a hazard if the dishwasher is left open, because you might forget that it's there, and if you're just walking without looking down, it could be something to trip on as well. Again, when you're in the kitchen, you want to make sure that you do not leave this dishwasher lid off when you're done putting away the dishes, because you could forget that it's still down, and if it's not in your line of sight or where you're looking, you could easily trip over it. As well as when you're doing the dishes, if you leave something like a sponge right where it could be knocked off and onto the floor, it could be a very big tripping hazard or fall risk hazard, as well as this rug if it's non-slip. The next room we are going to be going over is the bedroom. When you're in the bedroom, one of the activities that you're probably going to be doing is getting dressed for the day. So when you're getting dressed for today, you want to think about where your clothes are and where are the clothes that you normally dress in. So if they are normally in the lowest drawer, you might want to think about putting it up higher so you're not always having to reach down so low. Especially when you're about to put on your pants or your pajamas, you might forget about that drawer and you could easily trip over it as well. When you're also thinking about getting dressed for the day, you might have to go into a closet rather than just going into a drawer. So you want to make sure that the closet is going to be clean of any clothes on the floor. You could put a bin there so that all the dirty clothes go into the bin instead of on the floor. Or you can organize into boxes and have them in the closet shelves as well. You just want to make sure that they're in easy to reach places, and if you have seasonal clothes, then you can put them on the very top shelf where you only have to get them after every change of the season. And even items that you do not normally use, you can put them on the very top shelf as well, so that they're not taking up space in the living room or in your bedroom. At least they're put up safely away and you still have them available to you. So when you're in your bedroom, one of the things that you're probably going to have to do during the night or in the morning is get to the bathroom. So we want to make sure that there is enough light to get to there. And with having a nightstand or something next to the bed, you want to be able to reach over to turn on that light and get to the bedroom without having any hazards or clothes in the way. And even when you're coming back in to get into bed, having the bed sheet over onto the ground could be something that you could trip over. The next room we're going to be going over is the laundry room. When you're in the laundry room, one of the things that you're probably going to do is get your clothes in and out of the washer and the dryer. Now you want to make sure that you're not leaning on this door handle for the washer or the dryer. It's not stable and you shouldn't be leaning on any unstable surfaces anyway. So when you're taking out your clothes and you're putting them onto your washer and dryer, you want to then put them away so that they're not going to be something that you could trip over if it does land on the floor. It's something that you could easily get put away and be done with. If you're not able to get into your washer and dryer, get the clothes out without leaning on the door, another great alternative is using something called a reacher, which kind of has a claw at the end so that you're able to grab onto items. And this is something that you could use in the laundry room so you're not having to bend over and get your clothes out. But you could also use this in the living room or anywhere else where you don't want to have to bend down to get something, or if something is too high, you could also use a reacher to get that item as well. The next room is going to be the office. So when you're in the office, one of the hazards for falls is going to be the rolly chair, or a chair that has wheels on the bottom, because when you have a chair like this, it doesn't have brakes there, so it's not very stable to get in and out of. It's something that could easily be moved and you could easily fall out of or slide down, so it is going to be a hazard for that. And then having all of this clutter on the desk can be a hazard if it falls onto the ground. It's a little bit easier when you're organized and have everything in its place so that you know where it is and there's no chance of it falling onto the ground. Or if you don't have enough room up here and you start piling it on the ground, then it is something else that you could trip over as well. So you want to make sure that you're staying organized and keeping things where they should be. In the office as well, we want to make sure that any loose cords that we might have for our computers or for our TV or the light fixture, we want to make sure that we have all those cords where they should be, out of the way, behind the furniture, or along the walls. Another example of having items on the floor is when you're coming in from your day at work or just out in the community going for a walk. You're coming back in and you put your shoes right next to the door. Well, this is the place where I find a lot of the shoes pile up, so it is something that you could also trip over and be a hazard. So instead of having them scattered on the floor, you could have another alternative of putting the shoes into a bin next to the door, or having a shoe rack somewhere where they have a place and they're not just on the floor ready for you to trip on them. Another hazard in any home, when you're going through the front door, or in this case going through the garage into the laundry room, there's going to be this little step called a threshold step. And you want to make sure that you're able to clear that, kind of like with the tub and the shower. You want to make sure you're able to clear this step and get into the house safely. Thank you so much for watching.